All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, if I can have your attention, we'll get started so we can get done. I've had a lot of opportunities when I've brought a lot of bills forth where in committee they gave me a whole day to myself, but I've never had a whole floor day to myself, so this is great. But it is only one bill with a few little small amendments. So anyway, to get the bill in its current proper posture with the technical amendment, I'd like to just take that up real quick. It's a small.
All right. Have an amendment?
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker and members, Representative Ivey sends up a one-page amendment, number 141.
All right. Representative Ivey offers up an amendment. You want to hit on that amendment right quick?
Sure. It changes a shall to may, and the effect of that is staff brought it to my attention that if it requires any judge to complete their term, and that's regardless of if they die or decide to resign. So it doesn't allow that. It requires them to complete it. It may not be possible. So they just felt that it'd be prudent to change that shall to a may.
All right. Any objection to the adoption of the amendment? Seeing none, the amendment is adopted.
All right, members. This is a Supreme Court redistricting plan. As you know, the Supreme Court has 7 districts. But what you may not know is the history of the Supreme Court map and why it looks the way it does today. I'd like to give you a little bit of a history lesson so you can have the context that I believe is necessary to make a truly informed decision on what we're really dealing with here. In the 1974 Constitution, there were some changes, and in 1975, there was an act that redrew the Supreme Court districts. That map remained in effect until 1999, when it was redrawn. And the only reason that it was redrawn is because there was a case in which, I believe it was Chisholm v. Edwards, that claimed that the courts violated Section 2. There was a decree that was issued called the Chisholm Decree, and that decree required that the legislature redraw the state Supreme Court map to include one majority-minority district in the Orleans Parish area. It's the only reason that there is a single majority-minority district today. We've not redistricted this map, and that map was actually completed in 97, passed in 1997, went into effect in 1999. And we've not touched the state Supreme Court map since the courts required us to change it. And that changed, so from 1975 to today, the only change that's been made was because of a requirement of the federal courts to do so. Today, we have an opportunity to redraw the map. There's been a lot of debate over on the Senate side, if you've not been paying attention to the state Supreme Court maps. And while there have been multiple options presented that demonstrate that it is possible to draw an additional majority-minority district to help bring into alignment and also, with the demographics of the state, that's not been able to move forward. This bill is the first bill that's been able to move, for a floor debate. The map as drawn, while I acknowledge District 2 may appear to be a little bit odd, but if you look at if you put the current map into some of the modeling software, like on Dave's Redistricting, if you put in Senator Hewitt's SB 15, which we just moved out of committee today, and if you look at every other map that's been presented, this bill in its current posture provides for the most compact district compared to all of the others. It has the highest score across all of the other factors. It splits fewer parishes and so on. So this is a good map. If you look at the map just from a layperson's perspective, what you find is that all of the districts look like they'd be a really good district for a judicial candidate to run in. They make sense. I've opposed many of the congressional maps because of the upheaval and the disruption of what currently exists, and trying to balance the totality of circumstances, as the courts phrase it. I didn't feel many of those options were to try to create a majority-minority district, a second one. I didn't feel that sacrificing these other good redistricting principles, I was able to support that. But with this, nothing is sacrificed. No one is injured. No incumbent is injured in the making of this map. While I didn't intend to accommodate incumbents, obviously politically, and the fewer the ripple effects that we can have, the better for everybody, and that was my ultimate goal. And so this map is under the plus or minus 5% apportionment standards that we were targeting, even though the state Supreme Court map does not have any requirement for malapportionment. But I was able to still achieve very good, even numbers across all the districts. Let me give you a little more background on redistricting in the courts. This is from the NCSL 2020 revised edition redistricting law guide. In Wells v. Edwards, the Supreme Court, without opinion, affirmed the ruling of a 3-judge district court in Louisiana that the 14th Amendment's one-person, one-vote requirement does not apply to the redistricting of judicial districts. The lower court reasoned the primary purpose of one-man, one-vote apportionment is to make sure that each official member of an elected body speaks for approximately the same number of constituents. But as stated in Buchanan v. Rhodes, supra, judges do not represent people, they serve. Thus, the rationale behind one man, one vote principle, which evolved out of efforts to preserve a truly representative form of government, is simply not relevant to make up the judiciary. The judiciary does not serve a constituent or represent a constituency. They serve as administrators of the law for the entire state of Louisiana. Because of these provisions, there's added flexibility in how we draw these maps. We're not constrained to some of the other requirements, particularly the one person, one vote. And so there's great flexibility. We have air and opportunity to do this. A 6-district congressional map is a much more difficult task in trying to create a second majority-minority district because of the population distribution of minorities. Thank you. But with a 7-member district, I believe, and I think I've achieved it, and I'll show you some other options in a minute, but that it's absolutely possible. Section 2 compliance of the Voting Rights Act, I believe, makes it incumbent upon us to, in the totality of circumstances, when I'm demonstrating that no one's being disrupted, we're not changing these things, and the fact that it's not representative government, I believe, makes a very strong argument for supporting this map or one like it that adds a second majority-minority district. Also with the judiciary, you have another element that can potentially create some challenges, but they were not, I was able to overcome them. The judiciary is elected for 10-year terms, and they're staggered terms, and the judges age out. And so this current map provides for the least, absolutely no impact. In District 2, the judge that is in that district is aged out in December 31st of 2024. And so there's no impact to him. in District 3, the judge who's slightly outside of the district, he catches barely a corner of St. Landry Parish. He's aged out, I believe, in 2026. You'll notice that this has this very, it doesn't have that many split parishes. So again, all of these things factor into the metrics of what constitutes a good map. You might be thinking, why, Barry, oh why would you bring this map? And I'm sure some of you may not find, may be a little unhappy with the fact that I'm bringing this map and that we're going to be voting on it today. When I ran for office in 2013, before I stepped foot in this building, I made 3 promises to myself. 1, always be honest with myself. 2, give it 100%, and 3, be consistent. I try to operate out of principle and conviction and ideals, but knowing that in this body, this is not that type of body. There is a strong political element to this institution, and I've had to learn to try and operate within that. I'm happy to make any accommodations or on any practical concerns on any legislation, and I've only had one member approach me with any concerns on the map, which actually spurred this current version. And it actually allowed me to make tremendous improvements on what I initially presented in committee. Other than that, I've received 0 comments, phone calls from anybody. I've received no phone calls or emails in opposition to this legislation. I don't know if y'all have your phones ring off the hook about this or not. I would suspect the only conversation that I've heard or have been had is with a few judges who might have some opinions about this map, and probably all of the Supreme Court maps, as I can imagine. But I felt that it was necessary to do this. At the end of the day, I believe, this has been demonstrated, it's a whole lot more about self-preservation and DNR politics than about anything else. I believe that's what's kept our state back from doing other things, from working together and actually solving problems that affect the people we serve. But I felt it was necessary because I've got an R by my name as a Republican. And our form of government is a republic, a democratic republic. And at the very core of the fabric of our country and the form of government is representation. And when people are not allowed, by virtue of inaction or action in this body, to be fairly represented, I believe we fail to embrace what our founding fathers designed in this form of government. Because today it might be convenient when your party's in power, and we may make excuses of why it's okay to do it like this, why it's okay because we have the upper hand. The tables can turn. How does it feel having the short end of the stick? And so I believe an approach that it doesn't matter who's elected. It doesn't matter what the outcome. It doesn't matter the effect of the policies or things that I may disagree with. What matters more than that is the principles and values. And if we claim to be Republicans, if we claim to be patriots, then I believe we have to respect what our founding fathers gave us. And that's representative government. Now, again, I've been a harsh critic on many maps that try to force additional majority-minority representation when it doesn't make sense because of the overall impact of it. This map does not do that. There's no adverse impact. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to take any questions on this map.
All right. Question on the bill, Representative Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Ivey, do you recall Senator McMath's bill last session expanding the Supreme Court districts?
I do recall there was legislation on it.
Did you support it?
I honestly don't remember. I've slept too many times, thankfully, since then.
Do you remember, I think it was Representative Carter was one of the forces against it on the House side. I would assume if you don't remember how you vote, you don't remember.
I'm sure you know how I voted, though. You didn't
No, I
look it up?
don't. I don't. I'm
Okay.
getting to a point, but Representative Carter actually filed resolutions, as I understand it, to expand the Supreme Court this year. Did you know? Did you say in the press that you don't think we have time to get a Supreme Court district bill through?
That's. I don't believe I said that.
I saw something on Twitter. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I
if
was making comments in committee today about
you
that it was reported from some of the Capitol reporters that certain senior leadership, not named, was talking about possibly being able to sine die Friday or possibly Thursday, and that it was also reported that Supreme Court map is not necessary. We don't have to do that this session, and so I can read tea leaves as good as anybody here. I've been here long enough to know, there may be a strong momentum to do that, and so it does. I'm just doing my part. I can't affect things beyond my control. I'm just doing
Understood. I guess my question is, would it not make sense then to wait until the full session and reconsider that idea, which I think has some broad support in this chamber and certainly on the Senate side where it had 32?
Well, my experience has told me that while this institution historically loves to put off till tomorrow what we can do today, what I've learned is that this is not a pressure cooker situation. We've got nothing else to distract us. And so when you go into a regular session where there's budget fights and just the chaos that ensues around that, I believe an issue like this, which deserves some serious attention, could easily get lost in all that chaos. So,
Members, let's keep the noise down just a little bit. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to the floor on the bill. Thank you.
All right. Question on the bill, Representative Landry.
Rep. Ivey, I like this map a lot. It is a little interesting, the new district you drew, but from what I understand, the length of that district actually has a positive effect on the other districts, if you can talk about that a little bit.
sure. And if you haven't taken the time to play with any of the mapping tools that are available for free and very intuitive to use, then you really don't understand the challenges that exist when trying to draw a map of any kind. It can be very difficult. But I believe what I was able to achieve in this map is that by drawing the shape of District 2 in the way it is drawn, it allowed for more compactness and more regional cohesiveness in all of the other districts. And so, again, if you just practically look at each district, what you will find is that these are really good districts for anyone who would want to run in the, for a Supreme Court. And, if you look at the current map, and if you don't have it, I could pick it up, but you couldn't see it. But we all know we've all had to run, and some of the colleagues here have very sprawling districts because of the rural nature. It's very difficult to run a campaign, and so I believe the whole map really affords more compact districts, and therefore fairer competition for running for office.
So that's good to hear, because compact districts is one of the most common requests I think we've received. Is that correct?
Yes.
And just finally, one last question. I'm not so familiar with the part of the state where the new district is, but I understand that it does group more communities of interest. And I know that term has been used a lot the last few weeks, but if you could tell us a little about the communities of interest in this new district.
Sure. Well, it's the same communities of interest that this body supported in HB1 for Congressional District 5, same communities of interest.
Okay. And one final question. One of my colleagues said that the new district actually should should lead to that justice having a little more knowledge of commerce and interstate commerce
Sure.
because of its geographic location. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is, and these are border parishes where there's have border with another state. Also, East Baton Rouge Parish being a hub of commerce, for the state. There's a lot of commonality there. But if you look at the shape of Congressional District 5, you'll see a lot of commonality. Congressional District 5 actually goes all the way to Washington Parish, and this stops short at East Feliciana, but obviously goes in the north all the way to Caddo, where I believe the other Congressional District 5 just starts east of Union Parish.
Okay, thank you.
So they're very similar in that regard.
Thanks.
All right, there are no more questions to the floor on the bill. Representative Wright. You want to take up the amendments first?
Mr. Speaker, members, I motion that we table this bill.
Okay. Representative Wright moves to table the bill. Representative Ivey moves to object. Representative Jenkins, why do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just trying to make sure we know what the vote count is on this.
It's 53.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority present. I'm sorry. Majority present. All right. Representative Duplessis.
Speaker?
Yes, sir.
I had a question as to whether or not this motion to table the bill was in any way debatable. If we could discuss the merits or reasons as to why this motion was made and have an opportunity to hear from Representative Ivey.
It is a non-debatable motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Jenkins, why do you rise? Lockout? All right, will 20 members join Representative Jenkins in the lockout? Clerk will open the machine. Lockout is obvious. Quorum call. Members, vote your machines. Quorum call. Vote your machines, members. Vote your machines. Presley's here. Marcel's here. Green's here. All right, you through voting? All right. All right. Close them up. 95 members in the quorum. All right. Representative Wright moved to table the bill. Representative Ivey. All right. Representative Ivey objects. All those in favor of tabling the bill vote yea. All those opposed vote nay. Clerk will open machines. Members, vote your machines. Vote your machines, members. Vote your machines. Green, no. Through voting? Close them up. 52 yeas, 43 nays, and the motion fails to pass. The motion to table passes. My apologies on it. Personal privilege, Representative Ivey.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members, for listening. I wasn't expecting a table motion, so just right out the gate. But look, that's the process, isn't it? You know, we play the politics, we play the games. We go to the road shows for those of us who did. And the one theme that we heard that was a nonpartisan theme was draw us a map that's for us, not for you. That's what we heard. Recurring. Everybody who was at any redistricting roadshow meeting knows that. But that's okay. This is another demonstration that what are we really here for? This is the last bill that I'm going to author this year. I won't be authoring any more House bills. I may have a few resolutions, but I will not be authoring any more legislation for the next regular session and maybe the rest for the next year either. And that might be my legislative career. I'm going to focus on trying to help y'all with work that y'all want to do, because being principled, trying to be consistent isn't necessarily politically expedient. And so for those of you who don't know, there is pending litigation in federal courts right now on this very subject. And we have an opportunity to demonstrate that we've grown, we mature, because we all say it's not about race. We've grown, we've matured, we've evolved, right? We're enlightened. And what do? We repeat ourselves because we don't learn from history. Because we prioritize politics and a word that I can't speak on this microphone. That's what we prioritize. It's a bunch of BS. It's okay though. The people, look, we'll just continue to get by here in Louisiana because we're too stupid to work together, and that's okay. Our state is dead last. We had kids from all over the state come and tell us they have no hope. When this institution, over the last 100 years, has extinguished the hope of our children, shame on us. I know many of you don't understand me as an individual. I've spent the last year reflecting on who I am and not understanding why I have so much, I'm so misunderstood. And there's a lot of personality reasons for that. I'm only focused on one thing, making this state better for our children and grandchildren. I'm not as interested about making this state better for the people who've been here and it's been going great for. Our children are leaving our state. And we're okay with that because we do nothing about that. When groups of people in our state do not vote because they feel that their vote doesn't count because they're right, their vote doesn't count, what are we saying? We're saying we haven't evolved at all. But that's okay. We'll continue to be dead last. We'll continue to be the state that we have to attract with billions of dollars of incentives to come. That's what we'll continue to do. It's okay because you're okay with it. Because our electorate chooses not to hold us accountable. The apathy throughout this state is evident in each of you. When you fail to act, when you can, when you should. I bit my tongue for the last 9 years and I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to call it what it is. It is what it is. We lie to ourselves. We pretend, we play the games that it's about the people, but it's not. It rarely is. You look at every bill that's passed in this last year, what you'll find is if it wasn't backed by deep pocket corporate special interest, didn't have much of a shot. But that's okay. We're Louisiana. We're going to keep on keeping on. So I don't know what leadership looks like. I haven't seen it. I had to come up after Representative Glover, who did a phenomenal job yesterday. I don't have the eloquence of speech as he does, and certainly not the tenor in the voice. But in 2016, Representative Glover and myself, we had an altercation on the floor, and it was ugly. I didn't speak to him for over 18 months, not a word. I was mad. Look, I'm a very forgiving person. I can count on one hand how many times it took me longer than a few hours to get over something, and it took me a while to get over that. But I forgave him, but I still didn't speak to him for over 18 months. One day, I was speaking with Representative Cox, hanging out in the back, and it ended up just being Representative Glover and myself. And we talked for 5 hours. I got to know who he was. He got to know who I am. And we don't really get to do that here because we're too busy playing the politics. We're too busy focusing on all the things that don't matter. Politics is the distraction in our nation and in this state. And what's the price that we pay? Our children's future. But we're content with that because it's about me. It's about my district. It's about, you know, keeping the status quo. That's the most failed status quo in the nation. Because we don't want to upset the apple cart. We don't want to make a judge upset. Heaven forbid we, allow people the opportunity to actually elect a candidate of their choice, and in doing so, a judge might not like a few precincts that aren't in his district. We know what moves us. We know what moves this body at times. So, well, this is Louisiana. This is it. This is us. This is how we do things. We squash debate. We don't debate issues. We have everything pre-planned, organized. Look, we've got the political machines and operating full throttle all the time. And the people, they're so disenfranchised, they don't even pay attention. I ran unopposed twice, and no one's tried to do more to get unelected than me from a party political perspective. All right? So what I've shared with members who are brand new is just do the right thing for the right reasons and don't worry about anything else. If you do that, you're going to be okay, because I can defend everything that I do. And look, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I get it wrong. And I will apologize publicly if I've made an error in public. And it's okay to be wrong after you've done all the due diligence and listened intently and tried to do the best we can. But how many of us can say we did the best we can? I've told people this institution is the laziest group of people I've ever worked with, because it's true. Because we got problems everywhere, and we don't want to solve them. I said the institution. I wasn't targeting anyone. It's institution collectively. Collectively.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. I apologize. I meant no offense to anyone individually, but sometimes collectively, here's what we expect. We expect that someone else is taking care of that, and so we don't make any efforts. That's what happens all the time. There's problems everywhere, and we just assume that somebody else is working on it because we're a large group of members, 105 of us. So institutionally, and not only that, but what happens when you try? Look what happens. And again, I understand this is a politically controversial bill, but I've offered a lot of bills that have not been politically controversial. And look, this isn't about me and my failures. I'm okay with not passing legislation. I'm comfortable with it. I try. That's my job. I'm gonna close with this. John Quincy Adams said this: "Duty is ours, results are God's." So when I come up here, it ain't about grandstanding. It ain't about getting reelected. It's not about me. It's about trying to do the best I can to serve the people of this state, to help create a brighter future, a brighter tomorrow for our kids. That's it. It's the only reason I'm here. So thank you, Mr. Speaker and members, for your indulgence.
Personal privilege, Representative Harris.
Members, I want to just come up here and say something real quick. Barry started his comments about this is the process, and it is. I'm not happy with the way my district was redistricted or a lot of things, but it is the process. And I want to remind Mr. Ivey, when he came up here and threw the whole body under the bus, only 49 people or 51 people voted to table the bill. That means that half of y'all did not. So think about that. It is the process. But I will tell you, this is a lesson we all need to learn about these kind of things when we go to the floor. Life does not give you what you want. It gives you what you deserve. So think about that when you're up here talking about your personal things. So, and it really does. So we need to make sure that
Representative Harris, give me 1 second.
No, it's one I use all the time.
No. You got it, Representative Cox, on you. On your mic.
I take offense to that because you say it's what I deserved.
No.
But that's what you said.
Hold up. You can.
But it's
you have
to
to ask the
everybody in
question.
here.
You have to ask the question on it, and he has the right to have his personal privilege. Right?
Mr. Cox and everybody else, Representative Cox, I was not saying that to the body, but just as a rule of philosophy, we all got to work together in this body. And what I was talking about is just, in Barry saying that we didn't work together, I just left the meeting on the 8th floor talking about how we can do bipartisan things in this body. So I want to make sure the public understands that it's not exactly how one member's opinion is about the body. A lot of work has gone in here. I've been here just about as long as anybody in here. But let's continue to work this out. Let's make sure that we do all that we can to make it a fair process, and it is the process. Barry, I thank you for bringing the bill, and thank you for saying it is the process. But I could not sit there as a senior member and let some of those comments go without trying to balance it for the public. Because I've talked to many of you about this and about other things that are coming up in the regular session. I love each of y'all, and let's get this done. Thank you.
All right. Representative Marcel to the personal privilege.
Mr. Speaker and members of the House, I was sitting there and I was listening to Barry as he thought he was going to debate, we were going to debate his bill. And I really just stood to tell Barry, thank you. He may have offended some people, because sometimes the truth hurts. And some of what he said was true. But here's the deal. If you're in power and you want to keep power and somebody calls that out, that's not an issue. That's just what it is. And I'm proud that Barry is a member of the Baton Rouge delegation, that he stood and was able to tell some of the truth. I don't believe that every member in here is wrong about every single vote, but I do believe this process is tainted. I do believe that. So I join with you, Barry, in saying that many of the bills that we heard should have been debated on this floor, and that process has been stopped. And we may want to recognize it, or we may want to turn a deaf ear to it, but the truth is the truth. And thank you for bringing your bill and your hard work, as you've always done. And we may agree or disagree on some of your bills, but thank you for at least trying, for at least having the heart to do some of the work yourself instead of just following somebody else's button and pushing it because they pushed it. Thank you, Barry.
All right, morning hour 5.